just had something to say about my last acid trip that to me was really amazing of a thing that could even happen. Um, and I did something differently than I would normally do while I'm tripping. And me and a friend took it in here. Normally we would go out to like Cherry Creek or Ken Carl or Castlewood Canyon or Devil's Head, somewhere like out in the brush, in the forests and fields and shit like that, to the reservoirs. But this time we sat in here and I made music that's 80 minutes long. I call it the Journey to Nowhere in a Cut Loose Imagination. We were listening to that. It's 80 minutes long. And it's music purely made by synthesizers. There's nothing in the sound that is recognizable to this world, because the synthesizer knows nothing of a three-dimensional like our world. It's like a different dimension. It's electricity inside of the computer. It's like internal. A synthesizer doesn't, like a physically when you pluck a string or like when you hit a drum, that's physical sound in the 3D world. Your mind can relate to that, but it can't relate to every bit of the sound in these 80-minute I guess mixes, I guess you could call them mixes or songs that I made. And when I closed my eyes, this is the part that I have been trying to, the reason why I want to make this video. Close my eyes, instantly I can see into this other dimension. It looks like my eye, because we have the lights off in here, and when the lights are off in here, it's completely dark. I don't have any night lights. I have tape over all the lights. I put tape over all the lights that would otherwise be bright. I put cardboard over my window, completely covered my window, completely covered it in cardboard so no sun can come in. So yeah, I like complete darkness, and that's what we had. And in it, I could also see this during it. In it, it looked like my eyes were open anyways. Even when they were, when I first started doing it, I could kind of see when my eyes were actually open, looking into the dark room. But when I closed them, it strengthened the contrast, like the amount of brightness that what I was able to see is, it strengthened, and I could see into this other dimension, like my eyes were open, like I was physically somewhere else. And it was a dimension that looked like I would imagine. I think that listening to that music was almost certainly what was causing what I was seeing during this acid trip. And it's just so fascinating. And while it was happening, I'm like, of course I cannot record this in my mind. This is only happening here and now. I'll never see this again like this. Where does it all come from? What is allowing me to be able to literally see this shit going on in this other dimension? Places that look like you could physically go. And a lot of what I would see is a ground, like it'd be flashing, like something was flashing, and the surfaces looked like they were made out of electricity, like a bunch of static electricity all over the surfaces in this other dimension, is the best I could describe. Like there were surfaces there. I was able to see solid, colored surfaces, but they weren't anything that you would see in this dimension. It was like it was the world of electricity in my imagination. It was like temporarily during that time there was this actual world in my imagination that really did exist, that I was able to walk through. It was like, pretty much, imagine this. This might, closing your eyes and instantly seeing your dream, like the start of your dream. All you have to do is close your eyes, and 1 second later, you're dreaming. That's pretty much what this was like, except it wasn't. It's a memory from this world. It's not like a memory from a dream where you wake up from it and it's kind of hard to remember, like most dream memories are. It was a memory. I was still in this dimension. You know, I knew I was just sitting there with my eyes closed, listening to this really weird music at a fairly loud level. That was another thing that I think that was important about it, is the music was loud enough to not be able to hear yourself think over. I was playing it on this damn it, does this flashlight not work? I was playing it on these speakers, and those ones back there. And the stereo gets pretty loud in here. We were playing it at 0. So it was loud enough to not be able to hear yourself think. The music was completely manifesting your imagination. Pretty much hogging all of your attention forcefully is what the loudness of that me playing it was doing. And this other dimension, since I have no way of recording it in my mind, which figures, because I really like to watch it again as I was seeing it. But I guess the next best thing I can do is make a video reminiscing about that, because it was a pretty important memory to me. It's not something I would ever want to forget. I don't know how LSD is it's able to actually show you a completely different world. Usually it shows you a completely different world in the world that you already exist. The way you're seeing everything while you're on it is so new and holy shit, but it's like stuff that's been around your whole life. That's pretty amazing in itself, and that's usually probably what happens about 90 to 95% of the times that I trip acid. It's like I'm just seeing everything in this world differently, stuff that has always been there, and it's like I could stare at a tree like it's something to do for hours. Just stare at a tree for hours like it's something to do, and I have certainly done that. Stare at a field, the weeds coming up out of the grass. But this was actually some other dimension that I was getting to see, and it looked really prismatic. Sometimes there was stuff that seemed familiar of it, but I couldn't put my finger on any of it, because really what I was seeing was something that I'd never seen before, and it was just weird, because I think my mind was like trying to make more of it than it was, like trying to put, like, I've seen this before, or like I am familiar with this, I kind of know like where this is coming from, but really the whole time I'm like, holy shit, wait, no I don't, I can't put my finger on any of, like, so it was like completely familiar, but in a way that I couldn't understand this other world. It was like, it's so familiar, but I completely did not understand why. And I can more solidly remember what it was like. It looked like glass, like really, like if glass had light in it, scratchy glass, like if you took glass and you made scrape marks in it, or spider web. When you're walking down a cement path, and sometimes you see spider webs that go on the cement path in the right sunlight. This is a good analogy to try to explain what this stuff looked like. It looked like scratched glass that was bright, or a spider web going over a cement path when the sun's shining really, really brightly. Sometimes spider build little webs that are like relatively short and lots of them across cement. That's what this place looked like. But every surface there, it wasn't all the same color, the same brightness, but every surface had that look to it. And really, really bright. Like, it seemed like I should have shades on, like sunglasses on, but I couldn't because my eyes are closed. So it's like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna, my eyes aren't physically seeing, like the corneas aren't being damaged, are they? By my imagination? That's what it seemed like. It's like, wow, this place is bright, but I can't put shades on because, like, I'm just looking at the back of my eyelids. So I guess, hopefully the mind isn't too powerful, because if the mind was really powerful as some think it is, it would seem like your corneas could take actual sunlight damage from that. Because the light was inside of your mind, so therefore you are seeing it, and it is too bright, when really there is no light at all. Which might be the case with light in the real world. That light might not really exist at all either, and that all is just in your head. So, that being said, I do believe that it is very highly likely that both are the case, all in your head. But this other world, I wished I could see a lot more of it. More than anything, I wish I could record it and look at what I'm seeing, like on a screen, like I am with this camera. Like if I just had my camera, and while I was there in my imagination, if I could have my camera inside my imagination. But no,